but they're taking down our culture and our heritage. And then it started with others, and then it went to Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee was a part of our history, and it went to...
Came real close to saying a good guy there, I think.
Went to Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Jefferson, now George Washington. In San Francisco, they're taking the name of George Washington off schools. Can you believe it?
Good, fuck them.
We're not going to let this stuff go on. The hardest thing I had to do as president was signing letters to the families of soldiers who were killed in the Middle East. Often I called the parents, very often. Sometimes I went to Dover Air Force Base. That's where the bodies of the soldiers would come in, and I'd see them bringing a young man, young woman in a coffin, and I'd be with the parents, and
But no young transgenders. We took care of that, didn't we, folks?
I've told this story a couple of times. The parents would sometimes be unbelievable. You would almost not understand. It was like, sir, it's so great to meet you. And they'd always tell stories about their child. Sir, my son could throw a football so long. He was a quarterback in high school. He was a quarterback in college. Sir, I think he could have been in the NFL. He was really good. He was so great. And we're waiting for the plane to come in. And sometimes they'd be talking about their daughter. Lots of daughters were killed coming out of the Middle East. My daughter was so beautiful, sir. She was so incredible. She was the greatest. And I'd say to the general and the colonel that ran Dover, the great people, we have great, by the way, we have great generals. We have great generals. The ones you see on television are not the ones that are great. We have great generals and we have great leaders and a great military that I rebuilt. I rebuilt it. It was exhausting.
Man, that was a long and dark road, but we finally made it out at the end of that tunnel. Wow. Oh my God, I thought we'd never see the light at the end of that one.
But I'd say to the general and the colonel that ran Dover, and they saw the bodies coming in many days of the week, I'd say, General...
Nope, we're back in.
It's amazing. The parents...
We're back in.
...seem so fine. They can handle it. No,
oh,
they
God,
can't,
we're
sir.
going back underground.
I said, no, I just spent a half an hour talking to them. They're okay. I mean, they understand what happened. They're okay. No, they're not, sir. When that plane pulls up, sir, that big, unbelievable, powerful, just like you saw 3 days ago with the bodies dropping off the sides, how desperate are people to leave when you're hanging, clinging to a plane that goes up thousands of feet and you eventually have to let go? How desperate is that? How sad and how desperate. But when that cargo plane pulled up and that door opened, the general said, sir, when that door opens and you had the most beautiful young people carrying a coffin or a number of coffins off of the plane, sir, when that happens, you'll see the parents are not okay. So I was talking to people.
I'm literally fucking bleeding brain matter. Holy shit. I can't keep doing this. The town isn't the only thing sundowning here. Oh my God. Can somebody like throw a rock at him so his brain resets and he goes back to whatever the fuck he was talking about before? Holy shit. I can't believe this guy was the president. I can't believe it. It is easier. The standards for being the president of the United States are lower than being a line worker at a fucking Amazon shipping warehouse. By far, okay? If you came into the Amazon shipping warehouse looking for a job with Trump levels of cognitive awareness, not only would you not get the job, you would probably die somewhere in between the front door and the manager's office inside. You would probably wander onto like a treadmill and he would just start like talking. He'd like lay on it on his belly and just start like talking into the treadmill as it carried him off to his death.
That seemed to be fine. I was amazed at their strength. And 10 minutes later, I watched that same mother and that same father screaming, running to the coffin as it was being taken off, breaking security lines. You couldn't stop them. I've never seen anything like it. And for what? And for what? And then you have a man who just retreats and gives up.
What?
And it's a...
Wait, he retreated to save Americans' lives. Wait, what? Wait, you were criticizing him for pulling out his soldiers too soon. You were saying he should have left them there so that they could have secured further passage for the remaining people, but your way would have led to more deaths. What are we talking about?
Disgrace. It's a disgrace to our country. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace to everybody. The most incredible people. But that was the saddest thing, seeing that Dover. You go to Dover. You go also to Walter Reed Medical Center, incredible doctors. I will tell you this, most incredible doctors. And you see the kind of horrific injuries, and you see the parents, the wife, the husband standing and looking over the body of somebody that was just absolutely shattered. In some cases, no legs. In one case, I'll never forget, no legs, no arm, and then the other arm a half, and said to me, "Sir, I got lucky. I was able to save a half an arm." And I'm looking and I'm saying, we can never let this happen again. It was a terrible, terrible thing that happened. It was such a horrific mistake. But these people represent our nation. They're the
We're
greatest.
rapidly crossing into the territory where making fun of him begins to become ableist. Where are we? Where are we? What are we doing? And by the way, I mean, I've watched enough Trump speeches to know you see the ones that I watch, and I've watched more off stream. I think this might actually be the least coherent one yet. I actually do believe that. That's not hyperbole. I don't have the best memory, but I actually think this might be the most incoherent I've ever seen him. Which, I mean, he's old, and time moves linearly forward, so...
Greatest people our nation has ever had. Ever had.
They don't know what they're clapping for, but hell, they don't know half the time anyway. Let's... That's what gets the applause? All that rambling, incoherent nothing?
Thank you.
Literally, the last thing he said was the guy with no legs and one missing arm and a half arm. That was like the last thing he said. That's what they're clapping on? Like that whole tangent? Then he ends with like, yeah, I saw a dude in the hospital. He looked fucked up. And we're getting this?